Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to our press conference for the H6GT PHEV. Direct and live from Sydney, so delighted to have you guys all in the room here this morning. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves last night at the launch party. For everyone online, we are doing a live stream today as well, so another new episode of our Inside GWM series, so coming to you live and direct from the Four Seasons Hotel in Sydney, and give you guys online a little bit of an insight as to what happens at one of these press conferences. But ultimately, we are here today to talk about GWM's latest and greatest new model, which is the H6GT PHEV. A car that we believe is absolutely going to be a game changer for this brand within the ANZ region. Now, we arrive here today in very, very good shape with GWM now firmly ensconced within the top 10. We finished 2024 as a year-to-date top 10 brand for the first time, and that's an achievement we're very, very proud of. Very grateful for all the customers who've shown their faith in GWM to get us to this point. Now, exciting new product and expansion of dealer network, and a real focus from our dealers has allowed us to get into this position. And again, even in January, for context for everyone, we did finish as the number 8 brand in January. So you begin to see the momentum that GWM has got here within the ANZ region. So I'm going to spend, the next 5 or so minutes just setting things up for the morning. And then I'm going to hand to Tim Leong, who is our Senior Product Specialist, who will take everyone through a detailed overview of the technology that drives this very, very important new vehicle. And then from there, we'll field some Q&A from both within the room and online as well. What I do want to talk about is the importance for this car for GWM, but also for the marketplace, particularly in Australia, with the introduction of NVES, or the New Vehicle Efficiency Scheme. Now, that is a government efficiency scheme which is being introduced to try and incentivize consumers to make more fuel-efficient choices when buying their new vehicle. So technologies such as hybrid and plug-in hybrid, and obviously EV on top of that as well, will become even more important. And we believe that as we stand here today, GWM is very, very well positioned to come out of the NVES even stronger than it went in. And let us explain to you why we think that's the case. So GWM already has 5 hybrids and 1 EV in its lineup. So again, one of the widest hybrid lineups within Australia. So that's something we already have in place. Just for some context, we talked about GWM finishing last year as the top 10 best-selling brand within the country within Australia. When we pull out hybrid sales only, GWM was actually the 3rd best-selling brand from hybrids. So 10th overall, 3rd in hybrids. So that gives you the context with which we go in with confidence into NVES. We're already a leader within this alternative energy space, but we'll continue that. So what is GWM doing to make sure that we are able to thrive in this new NVES period? Well, of course, we're launching the H6GT PHEV here today. And again, you hear about the technology, you'll hear about the performance, you'll hear about the efficiency, and again, why this car is going to be so important to us, but then also to consumers in the Australian and New Zealand markets. But on top of that, we're going to add another 3 plug-in hybrid vehicles to the GWM range this year. We're going to take you through a bit of a product cadence a little bit later on, but ultimately you're going to see plug-in hybrids being added with Cannon Alpha. You're going to see plug-in hybrid added with H6, and you're also going to see plug-in hybrid technology added to the Tank 500. So as we come out of the end of 2025, we will have at least 5 hybrids in the range, 4 plug-in hybrids, and at least 1 EV, and there is further development to come behind that as well. What we do want to say, though, is we do understand that we need to give our customers choices, and if we want to achieve the growth and the volume aspirations that we have as a brand, we've got to give our customers powertrain choices, and that's not what every OEM's doing. There are some OEMs coming to market who are banking 100% on EV, and that's fine, that's their strategy. But the strategy for GWM is we want to democratize technology. We want to give our customers choice. If we can richen our model mix with more plug-in hybrids, more EVs and more hybrids in the mix, which we're confident we can do, we can offset that to make sure we can continue to sell internal combustion engines as well. The reality is, in the world of the NVES, that prices on all internal combustion engines are going to have to rise, and that's across every single brand. but again, that watermark will rise for every single brand, but the competitive positioning that GWM has today will still maintain that relevance and that gap with all the other OEMs. So we're confident that we're going to be able to maintain a level of internal combustion while maximizing our opportunity within hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and EV. Now, another example of where GWM is continuing to invest and sort of button down, for want of a better term, on internal combustion technology is the addition of the new 2.4-litre diesel engine to our Tank 300 range, and that's going to be added and on sale within the coming weeks. So again, another example of GWM continuing to invest not just in new energy technologies, but in internal combustion in the form, of this case, of a 2.4-litre diesel engine. Ultimately, you know, our friends from New Zealand, hopefully a few of you are online, and obviously we have some New Zealand journalists in the room today. Obviously, with the CCS standards and what's happened down in New Zealand, there are some lessons for us to learn, but we stand here today confident that GWM is in a strong position to move forward from the technology front. I want to talk briefly about the GWM brand as well. It is one of our biggest assets, but equally it's also one of our biggest opportunities, and we're working very, very hard to make the GWM brand more distinctive, more recognizable, and more local. Now again, for anyone online, you've heard me say this over the past few Inside GWM live streams, but just to stress the point that GWM is the brand that I represent, the brand that we're here to talk about today. We have a one GWM master brand strategy, and what that means is we have Haval SUV, we've got Tank Off-Road, we've got Cannon Ute, and we've got Ora EV, all sitting as model series underneath the GWM master brand. So the car we're here to talk about today is the GWM being the brand, Haval H6GT PHEV, with Haval H6GT PHEV being the model, just so we're clear. But ultimately, product specialization is at the core of the GWM brand. So if you think about that lineup of products I've just mentioned there, they're all designed with a specific purpose in mind. Haval SUV is our more mainstream, family-oriented SUV range. Ora is GWM's dedicated EV range. If you think about Tank, that's GWM's professional off-road range. So they all have a clear purpose, and that's part of GWM's focus, dedication, specialization mantra, which they live with. But ultimately, we've got to keep referencing that and echoing that to make sure that customers understand exactly who we are and what we stand for within this market. And there's a lot of work going on with my team, our agency partners, to make sure that we can bring that to life and make sure that everyone in this room and beyond completely understands how we show up within the ANZ region. You are going to see more prominent badging coming through on GWM vehicles. And again, for those of you who are aware of the new Cannon that we just launched last week, you'll see on that car very prominent GWM embossing on the rear tailgate. And that's part of our very, very deliberate strategy to make sure that the branding is coming through more prominently on our vehicles as well. We will continue to invest from an advertising and marketing perspective in local production, local talent, and local locations. We've been doing that for the past 5 years, but we feel that to make sure people understand what we stand for within this market, using local talent, local production, etc., helps us do that as well. But ultimately, expect to see much more recognizable, much more relatable GWM brand communications coming through. And for those of you who have seen it, we will show it a little bit later on. Our new Cannon TVC is probably the first embodiment of that as well. But ultimately, there is a lot of global expansion happening with GWM. We are one of the largest markets globally for GWM, which we're very, very proud of. But ultimately, the way that we show up as a brand here and the way that we show up as a brand globally is very, very important that we're aligned in that moving forward. And you'll certainly see more of that as we go forward. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper before I hand to Tim on the star of the show, which of course is the Haval H6GT PHEV. As we've said, it is GWM's very, very first plug-in hybrid vehicle, and what a way to send a very, very strong message to the market that GWM is here and that we are a technology leader. We've previously been able to claim a strong story on features, tech, safety, and value across a number of recent new model launches, but the GT PHEV certainly does all of this, but probably for the first time we can stand here with full confidence today saying that we believe the H6GT PHEV is a class leader in many, many respects. And I think that sends a strong message about the product development and about where we're heading as a brand. But ultimately, We also think that plug-in hybrid technology is going to become the key battleground in terms of technology within that NVES space for the coming years, and we're well primed to take advantage of that with this car. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Tim Leong, who's GWM's Senior Product Specialist, and Tim will take us through a bit more of a deep dive on this exciting new product. Tim.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Good day, everyone. As Steve has mentioned, we are really excited to be bringing this PHEV into Australia and New Zealand. And let's start off very quickly in just showing some of the changes of the vehicle. Obviously, the H6GT is not a brand new car. It has been available for a while in the petrol form. And as you can see, late last year, we've had a running change where we've made some changes to the tail light. The branding has also changed from Haval to GWM, as Steve has mentioned, about our one GWM master brand strategy. And we've just made it all a bit darker, a bit more stealthy to suit the customer base and their preferences. In fact, before our tech change came along, I saw one of these cars with black taillights and blacked out badges, and I was like, how's that possible? We haven't launched the car yet. And when I looked closely, it was actually a customer who did exactly what we were doing for the tech change on their existing vehicle. So that just told me we're on the right track. With the new PHEV, there are a few things. It is launching in this very confusing and also unstable time where NVES and all the consumers, some are being pushed to EV, some are like, nah, I still like my petrol. What do we do? With the H6GT PHEV, we believe it can really be really good at doing both. So it's a very interesting package in a way where it's something and something that sort of shouldn't make sense, but it does. For an example, this one is an SUV with a coupe styling. It's got sporty elegance and technology. It's got the performance and efficiency. It's got petrol and electric. And the list just goes on and on. As Steve has mentioned, this car is really best in class and leading in many, many places. So let's have a look at what that is. It's got 1,000+ kilometers of combined range. It's got up to 180 kilometers of pure electric range, 0 to 100 in 4.9 seconds, 321 kilowatts of power, 768 Newton meter of torque, and a max towing capacity of 1,500 kilograms. To give you that combined range, there's a 55-liter fuel tank. On top of that, a 35.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack. And to give you the 180 kilometer EV range, this package, compared to any competitor out there in PHEV form, is basically double of what the next competitor is able to achieve. And from a 0 to 100 in 4.9 seconds, that is also a full second faster than the next PHEV available in the market right now, in the mainstream. So there might be some European ones that are close. And to give you an idea how fast that is, it's also faster than some of the hot hatches that are available right now in the Australian market, which I'm sure you guys will be able to really experience this sometime today. And to really get that 4.9 seconds, you will need to have a play around with the launch control in order to achieve that. But we're probably unable to experience that on the Sydney roads today. And for people who are online, I encourage you to experience this in your local dealer as well. To achieve the performance there too, of 321 kilowatts, there is a 1.5-liter turbocharged engine coupled with a electric motor up front for the front axle. And then separately on the rear axle, there's an individual motor running the rear wheels to achieve all-wheel drive. And to give you guys an idea, the rear motor alone has about 25% more power than a Jolion. So that just shows you how powerful this car really is. It's basically got 3 times the power of a Jolly on petrol. And finally, 1,500 kilograms of towing. As we know, Australian consumers are still have this mindset where just in case I need to tow once or twice a month, just in case I need to go do this, take some stuff to the skip, whatever, to the tip. And that's why with 1,500 kilograms of towing, we can still satisfy a lot of these use cases. Now let's go through the range of the vehicle. As mentioned just then, the car is still available in the petrol form and the PHEV now. Both of them will be available only in the Ultra variant. And from the outside of the vehicle, you really can't tell the difference between the petrol and the PHEV apart from the badging, as well as the slightly bigger brakes for those really keen eye people. It is available in 5 colors. And my favorite is definitely the Atlantis Blue, which I believe some of you guys would have seen in the recent live stream. And for the premium paint, it's an additional $495 as well. This here is a little bit of a sneak peek into what the battery pack of the vehicle looks like. So obviously there are layers of protection, and this is one of the key things about the battery pack being at the bottom of the vehicle. And that's what I guess a lot of people would be concerned. This 35.4 kilowatt hour battery pack is really protected by 7 layers. There's the PVC anti-corrosion, there are multiple steel and alloy plates, as well as different insulation material to really protect both the battery being damaged while driving, as well as for our techs when they are actually working on them. The 35.4 kilowatt hour battery pack can also be charged from 30% to 80% in just 26 minutes. So this is also another thing where this vehicle is able to do both AC and DC charging, making it very easy whether you're used to EV already or you're just moving from ICE or from hybrid vehicle to a PHEV. The way I see it, the PHEV really is, it has all the EV capability and more. So what do I mean by that? It's got V2L, just like any other EV these days, with 3.3 kilowatts of output. Yesterday at our event, we were actually, we had a bit of a, I guess, show and tell. We were running a whole heap of hair bar with one of our PHEVs. And by the end of the night, the car still had 95% of charge left. All the hairdressers were having the hair dryers, having the curlers, and all these stuff running off the vehicle. And yeah, it was just a very cool thing to see. In a real world situation, if you are camping with a vehicle, you will be able to run, once again, you have 35 kilowatt hour. And that's a massive, massive battery pack. Even if you limit it to the vehicle to hold charge at 80%, that still gives you about 30 kilowatt hour left. And you can run a lot of stuff for a long period of time before you would run out. With regenerative braking, again, there are 3 levels. Once again, this vehicle is not just like an EV where we just throw it to the customer. We understand customers are in this transition phase. So with these 3 settings, you can go set it so it drives like a complete ICE vehicle, or you can make slow progression towards a more EV-like throttle experience. And finally, you can get to 1 pedal driving should you wish. Once again, the EV range of this vehicle is 180 kilometers. Now, the average Australian only travels about 30 kilometers per day. And if we times that by 5, that's only 150 kilometers, which means this car, you can realistically just charge it once a week or over the weekend before your long weekend trip. And once again, just being flexible, being suitable for all types of use cases is what this car really strong at. If you need to do your daily driving Monday to Friday, but then a long road trip over the weekend, you just pick up and go. You don't have to worry about charging. You don't have to worry about, okay, I'm going to this new place, where can I charge? Then finally, the power modes. As you guys will experience in the car, basically when you jump in, depending on the state of charge of the vehicle, depending on a few other conditions, the vehicle will automatically select between EV mode, EV priority, and intelligent hybrid. Now, intelligent hybrid is the only mode where when you hit approximately 70 kilometers per hour, the engine will kick in for better efficiency. However, if you leave it in EV or EV priority mode, this separates us to one of our competitors where it will maintain in EV mode even up to highway speeds, achieving true EV driving while you're in this vehicle. On the interior as well of the vehicle, we've got elevated comfort. And once again, with the step into new energy vehicles, everything like the steering wheel, the gear selector dial, your indicators, everything is just normal. There's nothing weird that makes the step from ICE to PHEV any more difficult than it really needs to be. The 12.3-inch infotainment screen, as well as the digital cluster, is fantastic. You guys can see a lot of the key information. For an example, we've got a shot of the cluster right there. Your current charge, you can see on the image there, the front motor is working, putting power to the ground. And you will be able to see a flick between front motor, rear motor, front and rear motor, as well as the engine plus the motors. And everything is just easily accessible, very simple infographics, making it once again very, very easy for just our everyday consumers driving the vehicle. And once again, talking about ease of use, with every vehicle, it comes standard with a slow charger that will come with the car. So if you're renting at your house, you don't have the facility to install an AC charger at home, you can easily just plug in the three-point plug. Overnight, you'll gain back approximately 100 kilometers of range, which once again is more than enough than our average consumer who does about 30 kilometers per day. And for those who doesn't have anything because they might live in a unit, there's DC charging as well. You can top up the battery from 10% to 100% within 60 minutes. So even when you're just out and about doing shopping, you can easily top it up. And the next thing I want to talk about are the upgraded brakes on the vehicle. Now, with obvious extra weight as well as really extra performance of the vehicle doing 0 to 100 in just 4.9 seconds, we need to upgrade our brakes. We've increased the rotor sizes, both front and rear. The front calipers have also gone from single piston to twin piston, making the surface area of the brake pads significantly larger than the standard petrol vehicle. This, we feel, on top of regenerative braking, is really what we need to stop a vehicle that's 2 tons. Finally, something that's very exciting is this vehicle will still come standard with our 8 years battery warranty, giving our customers that peace of mind in case anything goes wrong. 7 years warranty over the entire vehicle, 5 years roadside assist, as well as 5 years of cap price servicing. So we believe overall this package is really something that's best in class at the moment for the Australian and New Zealand consumer. And with this, I'll hand back to Steve while he'll go through a little bit more on pricing, etc.
Thank you, Tim. So there you have it, the lowdown on the technology that really lies at the heart of this very, very exciting and innovative new vehicle. So as Tim said, just going to talk a little bit to pricing. mean, ultimately, the petrol has been on sale for a while, as we said, but some really, really strong value and pricing in terms of this car, which is now available in dealerships across the ANZ region. So we're looking at 53,990 drive away in Australia and 58,990 RRP in New Zealand. So again, very, very strong pricing. We urge you to get it within context of perhaps what some of the competition is selling at, and I think you'll find there is a significant value and technology advantage being offered by the GT PHEV. I want to talk a little bit about the marketing and how we've brought this exciting new car to market across the ANZ region. But ultimately, we know that modern life is busy, and sometimes you've just got to keep going without having to think about charging or fueling up or that type of thing. So as such, the marketing proposition we've taken to market for this car is power through more. And we believe that gives a respectful nod to the GT's performance, efficiency, and convenience while referencing our Go With More tagline, and that's something you're going to see more of in future campaigns. We've made significant media investment into this new campaign designed to give the H6GT PHEV a big new car launch feel while providing a sense of urgency around the opportunity between now and the end of the FBT exemption on the 1st of April. But let me just quickly talk about the FBT exemption. And I'm probably going to preempt some questions which may come through online. We've been asked a number of times as to why we didn't bring the car in earlier, and surely you should have brought it in with the FBT exemption in mind. Now, ultimately, as being part of a global car company, we don't control production timings. We get the product when we're given the product. So this was the earliest we could get this product in. We would absolutely say, could we have had a bigger run at it and potentially built more volume earlier if we'd had been able to get the car earlier? The short answer to that is yes. The reality is we've just been able to start getting cars through and delivering them through to our dealers in the past weeks. But we have been taking a number of strong orders through the pre-order period. Last week alone, our orders on this car were around about 60, and that's even before customers have been able to get in and drive the car. So we think there is good volume opportunity there. Let me also draw your attention to the significant value advantage we've got on this car versus some of our competitors. Now, when we talked about the impact that the likes of the new vehicle efficiency scheme will have in terms of lifting the prices of internal combustion vehicles over time, ultimately, with the FBT exemption going, there will be a slight increase in PHEV prices as a result of that happening, but that will happen for every single brand. GWM's strong competitive position, even when that happens, will continue to shine through. So we believe that the strong value will shine through all the way through the end of March, but even post the FBT exemption, there is a significant opportunity and strong value for customers in this car. But in terms of the campaign, hopefully some of you guys might have been able to see it around Sydney, or even as you're coming into state. I know that I did see a number of the big large format billboards in Melbourne and in Sydney coming to this event this week. But we have invested heavily, and ultimately we've also produced some social media assets and some social media films, which we've got running across Digi, social, Facebook, etc. and now, which really hone in on the USPs of the vehicle. So I quickly just want to show you a little bit of that work now. So we'll just roll those. So that's the first reel there that obviously points to the acceleration, one of the key USPs of the vehicle. We did create a second one as well to talk about range. So that's an example there of how our large format out of home is showing up. So again, I hope you guys will get the opportunity to see that in the coming weeks. We are seeing increased levels of inquiry off the back of this activity going on. Again, that's how we're showing up in mobile. That's how we're showing up in some of the car portals. And ultimately, we've got dealer point of sale rolling in as well. So the point I'm saying here is that we've really just started in terms of the marketing campaign with this car, with cars rolling into dealership. So we expect to see a significant spike in inquiry from here. That's pretty much what we've got for you this morning on H6GT PHEV, which we said is the star of the show. But we thought we wanted to take the opportunity, and certainly for those of you joining the live stream, since our last Inside GWM live stream, we've also launched one other very, very important car, and that is the new and significantly updated GWM Cannon. So the Cannon Ute, for those of you not familiar with it, is a very, very important car to us, and one of our 3 volume pillars for GWM, alongside Jolyon and alongside H6, that delivers significant volume and is one of our best sellers. That car has obviously increased with increased performance with a new 2.4 litre diesel engine, and we've increased the towing capacity from 3.2 tonnes to 3.5, as well as a significant design update, interior, exterior. So it is a big update for this car and an important one for us. But I wanted to quickly just take you through the marketing for that as well. We did have our Cannon press launch last week, so those of you looking for more information can go online to gwmanz.com. The embargo in terms of our media reviews for that car, so all our journalistic friends that are here with us today and joined us at the event last week, the embargo lifts on all those road test reviews at midday tomorrow, Thursday. So again, jump online and you'll be able to hear what the experts think of this car as well. But ultimately, we've done a huge campaign for this car, and what I would say is, well, we talk about big investment in H6GT PHEV from a marketing campaign perspective. The campaign that we've put behind new Cannon is the largest we've ever done for any single model. It's a 7-figure investment over a couple of months, so we've invested very, very heavily in this car, and that probably gives you an indication of how important Cannon is for us moving forward. But ultimately, the insight and the proposition for this new campaign is around the humble use association for being the perfect vehicle for throwing pretty much anything in the back. Hence that sort of well-coined phrase of let's just chuck it in the ute. So we've leaned into that. But ultimately, that phrase, chuck it in the ute, has traditionally more been about the tray and chucking heavy objects in the tray in the back of the ute. But in the case of the new Cannon, it's more than that. With this new model, we've got updated exterior and interior styling. We've got more tech, we've got more power, we've got more towing. Essentially, GWM as a brand has chucked everything into this car to make it an even better car and the best ute that we've ever had in market. So ultimately, we think it's a great proposition. It's so good that you can even chuck your Friday night date in, your Nana, whatever you want, in the really sumptuous interior. So in short, the new Cannon enables anyone to chuck more in. We think it's playful, memorable, and very relatable, and it's a line and a campaign which will go a long way to building that brand awareness and familiarity that I talked about earlier in the session. So with that, hopefully some of you have seen it live on TV. It is running in heavy rotation. But this is our new 30-second spot for the all-new GWM Cannon.
We are gathered here today.
Chuck it in the ute.
Chuck it in the ute. Chuck them in. Chuck that in. Father, in the ute. We are gathered here today to
Chuck it in the ute.
Chuck more in, the new GWM Cannon Ute.
So hopefully you like it, hopefully you get where we're coming from. There is an element of playfulness in there, and that's one of the brand sort of pillars that you're going to start to see coming through a lot more in GWM communications moving forward. So the campaign is now live, as we said. It's kicked off across multiple channels, including TV, large format out-of-home, social, digital, and a number of the car portals. And as we said, we are expecting to drive record levels of inquiries and sales with this new model. We did talk last week about volume aspirations for this car, and we want to get to in excess of 1,000 units a month out of new Cannon, and we think with the level of quality, the level of tech, the level of value that we have, this is something which is entirely achievable. Quick examples again of how the campaign rolls out. That's again large format out of home, which is running across all mainland capital cities currently until the middle of March. Again, that's how we show up in mobile, on desktop, and then ultimately that's how we're showing up in our showrooms. So that's pretty much what we have for you this morning. We've obviously given you a bit of an overview of where we're heading as a brand, our preparedness for the NVES. We've of course dug into the hero of the day, our show car for today, which is the H6GT PHEV. We are going to take our journalist friends in the room here out on a drive now to get them to actually test the car for the first time out on Australian public roads, so we'll be keen to hear what they think. But before we do that, we are going to go to some Q&A. So we're happy to field some questions from within the room here, and we're also happy to field some questions from online. So if Charles and John, I could ask you just to come up and join us up here, please, that would be great. And Justin, if you want to come and join us. Justin is our PR manager who's going to moderate Q&A. And for introductions, this is Charles Zhao. This is the Managing Director of GWM ANZ. And with John Kett, our newly minted COO, who's been with the company a few weeks. So we'll be happy to field any questions you might have.
And I'll invite Tim to just join the guys for some technical stuff. So I'll just take some questions online first, and then we'll just hit the room. So, Nicole has asked about technical question to Tim. So if the vehicle stays in EV mode for, say, 12 months and there's fuel in the vehicle, what are the what are the concerns with that?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's very good to be hearing some people are already thinking about the ownership experience of the car. This is a very valid question, and to answer, there are little tricks that we've done with the fuel tank to help keep the petrol last that little bit longer. And not only that, the vehicle, when it gets to a certain stage, it will kind of force the vehicle to use the petrol a little bit along the way to make sure it doesn't kind of expire and for the fuel to go bad.
Cool. And just another one for Tim. In terms of the testing, so obviously the vehicle's rated to NEDC.
Yep.
The question relates to WLTP.
WLTP. Yep.
And what the range is.
Yeah, so as mentioned, it is 180 at NEDC. We haven't tested it in the WLTP, but from a real-world condition, I've been able to actually drive the vehicle to approximately 170 kilometers on EV range. So that should give you an example, an idea on what the vehicle can do in the real world.
If I could just add to that as well in terms of that real-world efficiency, we had one of our technical team took a vehicle away for an interstate break with his family a couple of weekends ago on a full charge and with a full tank of fuel. He basically got to 970 Ks by the time he got home, and ultimately I think he said he still had 80 Ks worth of range on the system. So that shows you that in terms of that over 1,000 Ks combined range, it is absolutely achievable, and we have tested it.
Cool. Question from Kitty. Is the turn signal on the left or right, and has it been localized?
So with this car, it is still on the left. This is something that we are working on currently as part of the localizing of the products. And yeah, we are trying to move all of our vehicles with the indicator to be on the right in the future. For the time being though, this one, it is still on the left.
Okay. And David's asked, obviously the car is VTL compatible. What about VTG?
Yep. So at this point in time, the demand for V2G is still fairly low in Australia. My understanding is only South Australia has the capability of V2G. So as this becomes more popular, it will be something that the Australian team will demand and request from the factory, and then I'll have to fight the battle from there. But yeah, for the time being, V2G is not available, but V2L is available at maximum 3.3 kilowatt.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Questions from the floor? I'll just ask you to grab the mic so the guys can hear.
Steve, you said in your address that ICE vehicles are going to go up under the NVES. But what I would like to ask you is, with so many electrified vehicles in your range, surely you'll be in a position to actually sell credits to to companies that might need them to get their cars through, and actually maintain the price of your vehicles as they are now. Is that the case?
Peter, that's a very good question. What I might do is I might hand to John to field that question. It is something we are discussing, and it is going to come down ultimately to the model mix that we can get to. But John, are you happy to field that one?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. Our job is, when we think about this technology, we think about bringing this cutting-edge technology to Australia in line, which I would say, with the adoption rates. And I think PHEV does give us that opportunity, A, to demonstrate the technology, but B, we think in terms of the acceleration we've got out of HEV, we're going to hit the mark in terms of where consumers are. EV adoption lags HEV in general. We think PHEV will be ahead of EV over time. We get that right, and then we can hold our position. I think the point that Steve was speaking to earlier, which is really important, the greater penetration we can get on PHEV and EV, the longer we can keep our ICE products at the price points they are. If we had to lift, we'd still be relatively the same price value versus our competitors. So we need to balance that.
Any other questions from the floor?
Just wondering what the split's going to be now with between petrol and plug-in hybrid in the H6GT.
Very good question, Tim. I would say it's probably too early to have an accurate view on that. Obviously, we do have a view. We have been taking a strong order bank, and even ahead of cars arriving in showrooms, we've certainly taken a couple of hundred orders without anyone even test driving the vehicle, which indicates to us that that value equation, the tech, the efficiency, the story we've been telling everyone today, that is absolutely resonating with customers already. Last week alone, we took 60 orders on GT PHEV just as cars are beginning to come in. So the run rate, we believe, will be somewhere around about sort of 300-400 a month. Again, let's wait and see what happens over time. If you think about the petrol model sales that we have in that, we do sell around about 250 to 300 petrol GT PHEVs, sorry, not PHEVs, GTs at the moment. So ultimately, I suspect we're still going to sell slightly more petrol, but we think over time that split may even be 60-40. If you ask me that question again in 2 years' time when we're 2 years into NVES, I think plug-in hybrid will be far and away the best seller.
Good morning. Wanted to ask a question. Why only one trim level of the petrol and PHEV at this stage?
Look, it's probably a decision we've made in terms of complexity. So I think you'd agree that at a 53,990 driveway price point, Jack, the value is there every single day of the week. We've benchmarked against a number of our competitors, and I'm not going to talk about specific competitors today, but we have got a significant price advantage. We've got a significant equipment advantage as well, and we're able to bring all that to market at a position and a price point that we're very comfortable with. Our range is growing. As I said, we've got 5 hybrids. We're going to have 4 plug-in hybrids this year. There is a significant widening of our range with tank, everything else. We've got to keep complexity to a minimum for our customers, for our dealers in terms of stocking, in terms of marketing. So for that reason, we've made a decision on one grade right now, but as we always say never. If the demand for this car goes through the roof, there are other options in terms of grade that we can look at.
I can just add a little bit as well. Between the H6 and the H6GT, we are also seeing the whole segment in the SUV medium segment. So this is more the specialized vehicle, as Steve has mentioned earlier. That's what we're looking to do. And so the majority of the volume will come from H6. So that's sort of hopefully give you an idea why we only have Ultra in the H6GT.
Tim, if I could just interrupt. So a question from Oliver around about suspension with the H6
Yes.
PHEV. Is it the same as H6? Is there a difference?
Yes, so obviously with the added performance as well as the added weight, there is a bespoke suspension tune for the PHEV as well.
Cool.
Just on that, what is the weight difference between the two?
Can we give you the mic?
You just asked my question, Jed. What's the weight difference between the two?
So from memory, it's about 450 kilos. But yeah, all this information will be provided to you guys in the press kit. And for consumers, it's actually available online in our brochures.
Cool. And are there changes to tyres or anything like that, or is it just suspension?
Oh, tyre. I just remember it's the Michelin Primacy 4 in the PHEV, but I can't remember if the standard one.
I think that's the standard tyre.
Yep, okay.
But obviously braking.
Yep.
The other point, Andrew, is braking, of course, that Tim took you through already. So that's a very, very important factor in terms of giving us that stopping power. But I believe the tyres are the same.
Cool.
Yep.
What is the limiting factor for...
Peter, sorry, can we just get that mic to you to make sure it comes through on the screen?
Sorry. What's the limiting factor for the towing capacity of this car? Like 1,500 kilos is not a lot to tow, and it's got a lot of power and torque. So what's holding it back?
So towing is not just about power, basically. With the vehicle having additional weight, that means the GVM is going to be the limiting factor. And once again, with downboard weight and everything, 1,500 is where we are at. And to give you an idea, the standard vehicle is 2 tons, so 2,000 kilograms. And if you take away the 450 kilogram of battery, that kind of gives you an idea on why why the difference of 500 kilos. And like I said, even though it is a little bit lower than your equivalent ICE and HEV competitors, it is still best in class, basically in PHEV.
Just back Hey guys, just back to suspension. Is it different spring rates? How does it differ from the petrol model?
This is something I'll have to double check, but the shocks are definitely different on the vehicle. Whether or not the springs are different, I'll have to double check.
All right, cool. And do you guys have a WLTP verified range?
At the moment, no, because the Australian government is still working on NEDC and all the homologation paperwork and everything is still off NEDC. In fact, I'm guessing you're from New Zealand? No? Okay. But New Zealand is working off WLTP, and this is always something that we're struggling because they wish we could provide all this information in WLTP instead of NEDC, but until the Australian homologation system change, we're duplicating our work, and it's just not really, it's just not really worthwhile, I guess.
Tim, question from Agatha online. Obviously, the car's got massive performance.
Yep.
Is there a race mode or something in the car that demonstrates the performance of the vehicle?
There isn't really a race mode, but with this vehicle, I guess the main thing is launch control. So when you activate launch control, you have to deactivate the electronic stability control first. And when you have your foot completely hard on the brakes and then flooring the accelerator, you'll really feel the car sort of lunging and getting ready to go. And I think that would be the most exciting part about the whole drive. And also that, I can't remember the term, but AVS is basically the sound that it makes while in electric mode. It does add to the experience as well.
Tim?
I'll just ask one quickly, sorry. The battery, can you tell me what chemistry it is and if it's sourced from a third party or if it's GWM's own design?
Yep, so it is part of our own design by an internal company for GWM. And the chemistry is ternary lithium. Yep.
Any difference in the boot capacity or interior space as a result of the battery?
That's also that's a fantastic question. And the good thing is we have made sure that all of that has not been impacted. So if you jump into a petrol car and a PHEV, it's exactly the same.
Cool. Any other questions?
Does the NCAP rating carry on from the 2022 model?
This is something that we are working on right now. We are providing additional engineering certificates and also reports to NCAP to confirm that. We are confident that we will be able to achieve it, but it's not yet confirmed.
I've got one for John. Hand on heart, John. If there's a change of government, do you think the NVES will last?
What an incredible question. I think even the current legislation allows for a time period of review, and I certainly think at that time period, based on the adoption rates and where all brands are, and I think globally what all other countries are doing, no doubt, I don't think we can review the curve, but maybe they'll end up reviewing the penalties. But beyond that, who wants to take that guess, yeah? I think, from a pure brand perspective, we're ready for anything, and that's the most positive message that we can bring.
The thing that irks me, I'm just sort of making a statement from the floor here, is that the whole NVES is predicated on reducing CO2, right? But it takes no account of the amount of carbon that's pumped into the atmosphere by the 500 ships that drop cars off in Australia. Right. So I just don't understand what the logic behind the whole thing is.
You
didn't do a good enough job squashing it.
No, well, we can do that. We're going to have this conversation over lunch.
All right, well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. So thank you to the guys that are in the room. Thank you to the management team that have spent some time this morning with us. And to the people online, you can obviously see where GWM's heading. It's only February, another major launch for us. So stay tuned for future launches, and thanks for your time. Cool. We're offline now, guys.
Okay, thanks everyone, and thanks for playing along with our first live stream Q&A. Appreciate the interaction. We are